Hello and welcome to the Brit Iron Podcast award ceremony episode. We're 1 week away from the Superbowl now.
I can't wait.
And we're
so
all
excited.
buzzing. You're definitely buzzing.
Really
I was going to
buzzing.
say, me and Sam are just buzzing for the football, but you've got money in the game, cash on the line,
Been waiting.
dollar in the bank. I don't know.
You're really trying with this one, aren't you, James?
But before that, we have some awards to give out
We do.
to individuals, to teams, to coaches. Oh, God,
Some good, some bad.
Yeah, some still
know.
employed, some not.
Yeah, very much so. But before we get into that, we would like to give a quick shout out to the UKTouchdown.com. It's a great source of signed college and NFL memorabilia based in the UK.
Yeah.
And boys, it's all fully verified, 100% legit, so you know exactly what you're getting for your money. A lot of good stuff on there, so be sure to check it out. Now, when we came into planning this episode, we were just going to jump straight into the awards because we've got quite a few to run through.
Yeah,
But overnight, there's been a few developments in the league, and one in particular,
Yeah, wild times.
wild times,
league changing.
and that is Stafford, Goff, Detroit, LA trade, blockbuster of a trade. I mean, what do we say about that? Who's winning? Who's losing?
I was so confused when I woke up this morning because when I saw the trade, I was like, right, that kind of makes sense. And then I saw what was involved in the trade, and I kind of went, wait, that kind of makes no sense. Like, Detroit seems to have come out of this quids in. They've got a guy like, personally, I don't think that the difference between Stafford and Goff is that massive. Like, Stafford is the better quarterback, but Goff is younger, he's less injury prone, and it's been proven before. Out of the two of these guys, he's the one that's gone to a Super Bowl. It's been proven that you can win with Goff. So to get Goff and 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick seems like a steal here. I don't see how the Rams... I mean, the only way the Rams can win this trade, in my opinion, is if Stafford wins them a Super Bowl in the next year or two. That is the only way. Otherwise, you're giving up the next 2 years worth of first round draft picks. They haven't had a first round pick since Goff himself, and they gave up 2 to get Goff. So you've effectively got 4 first round picks involved in this trade and a third rounder, and you're still on the hook for a lot of his cap room. So it's not even like they're freeing up a lot of his contract. It's a really risky one from the Rams, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that contract is what drove the price of this deal up. I don't think you see necessarily both first and a third, maybe a first, maybe even just a third, who knows. But that drove the price up, and I think that's what drove some other teams out of this market, is that suddenly Detroit were like, okay, we're getting what could be, on his day, top 10 quarterback comfortably. I mean, him and Stafford, like between Goff and Stafford, they both have up and down days.
Yeah.
Like at a similar rate. I think currently Stafford has a slightly higher ceiling where he can take over a game, but Goff's younger, he's got time to develop into that. And I mean, I think the Lions, I mean, it's early prediction, who knows, but I think the Lions win out on this. The extra first round picks, I think they've now got something like 5 first round picks across the next few years.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell on a long contract, that means he can really build. Apparently him and Goff have spoken and said, look, this isn't we're trading for you, so the Rams lose the cap here in the contract, and then we're going to flip you again. We want you here, you're part of what we're building.
Yeah.
I mean, we always said, you give Goff a clean pocket, and I think I mentioned this to you earlier, there's videos of Dan Campbell on the sideline, I think it was at college or something, absolutely laying into a tight end for not blocking his assignment and going off at him. I'm like, he's going to be a guy that's do your job. If you're blocking, protect your quarterback, which is perfect for Goff. They've already shown DeAndre Swift, they've got a running back they can lean on, so it's not like it has to be all Goff.
He's going to fit that Dan Campbell mould as well. The things that Goff does really well, is he's maybe the best quarterback in the league out the play action. He is really good at that. And when the Rams were firing at all cylinders a couple of years ago, that's what they were doing best. And he throws one of the most beautiful deep balls in the league. It's kind of ironic that you've gone from Stafford, who's a big arm gunslinger, to Goff, who, while he's not a gunslinger, has actually got one of the best deep balls in the league. Like, he throws it with relative ease. And coming into this offense, that from everything coming out of Dan Campbell and that building, this is going to be a gritty look. We're going to rely on the run game. We're going to play aggressive football, and we need a guy who's going to facilitate that, not make mistakes, which Goff doesn't do. But when we need it, and we need a 60-yard bomb, he's got it in the tank. So I really like this from the Lions. They seem to have come out on top in every aspect.
I think it's also a win now for everyone, or like a good thing, because you saw it, like McVay said he sort of wanted to move on from Goff. We called it early. Just going to put it out there.
He did.
Yeah, very much so.
Visual Pod called it. But then Goff was also wanted to change of scenery. Stafford wants out. Dan Campbell wants maybe his own guy, put his own stamp on it. So I think everyone's getting what they want within this. So I think it makes sense, and I think maybe that's partly why as well. There was no one feeling like they were sort of getting the wrong end of this trade, which is why the price is where it is.
Yeah.
The interesting thing for me is what this does to Deshaun Watson. Because if you are getting 2 firsts and a third, that's a Stafford trade. Like, Watson's trade now surely has got to be 3 or 4 firsts or players involved. Like, it's got to be monster, and I think that's still going to happen. This offseason is going to go, I think from now, we've seen teams can and will trade away big contracts. Yeah. I think Goff doing that opens the floodgates. It brings back the Matt Ryan conversation. It's however these teams and these front offices want to do it, and if it becomes the trend and the fashionable thing to be like, you know what, we're all going to move on.
And there's a lot of young, aggressive front offices around there. We've got a lot of young head coaches and a lot of young GMs who aren't afraid to go out and do things like that. I mean, you look at Cleveland going out a year ago and a year or so ago and getting OBJ and giving up that capital. And there are a lot of teams out there that I think you're right that now this has happened, people are going to go, you know what, 2 or 3 first round picks. Who cares if we can get Deshaun Watson on $39 million a year? Let's swallow it. Let's do it. And if we've got the cap for it, I mean, if you're the Jets and you're sat there going, we could give up a couple of first-round picks and we've got the cap room to swallow this, let's go out and make that happen.
Yeah, definitely. And just touching the Rams as well, they're not scared to make these decisions like this. Look at Gurley, big contract, let him go.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks as well, same sort of thing.
And to be fair, the Rams a couple of years ago, when they had that record-setting offense and they were one of the best teams that we've seen in a long time, the way they got there was through aggressive off-season acquisitions. They were picking up players and maxing themselves out in a win-now capacity. Yeah. And everyone back then said, look, if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, they're going to find themselves in cap hell, and 2 or 3 years down the line, they're going to be in trouble, which is where they're at now. So now what they're doing is they're trying to reset and go again, which I actually quite like.
Yeah, and that makes it a win-win, really. Yeah. In reality, I think it's hard to disagree with that. But
Detroit keeping this year's pick as well is huge, because that means now what is it, top 5 pick? It's early, I think.
Yeah,
that early pick now, they don't need to be looking at one of these top 4 quarterbacks, one of that group. You could sit there and go, okay, let's say we've got both Jones and Golladay needing deals. We sign one of them, we use this pick for a receiver. Or we take one of the premier tackles with that pick to protect Goff. Suddenly they are in a great spot. This is for the Lions, I think. They're looking at this like, we got something to build on now. Yeah. Like, we can. There's almost getting that thing of not a lot of excuses. After that, I think they're getting what they need. Yeah. Because if they hit this off-season right, they could really be a turnaround team.
Slowly building to a scary prospect to go up against. Maybe not this year or the year after, who knows.
As long as they pick well. It's all being said, we could look at this trade in 5 years' time and be like, oh God, they whiffed on every single pick there.
I mean,
Goff didn't really get any better, and Stafford's won 2 rings since then as a part of this juggernaut Rams. Like, hindsight's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out, but I'll be...
As long as they don't do a Packers and pick a quarterback with that.
Oh, imagine.
It'd be amazing to see absolutely ruin themselves. But yeah, this is an interesting thing to wake up to this morning. I think the rumours were there, but it was hard to believe.
I think it was, what was it, maybe yesterday? I'd read one tweet saying the Rams have been weighing up Stafford. And I sort of mentioned to you, and we both kind of brushed it off like, like, I think this was almost, everyone was saying Stafford's either going to the Colts or the Niners was sort of the front runners. Now the Colts have got to be sat there thinking, does this mean Deshaun Watson on the Colts? Imagine that. Like, in division though, so that would have to be the price, that'd be monstrous, but
he's one to watch. That when that one comes out and breaks the news about Deshaun Watson,
all hinges on him now, I think. Deshaun Watson's like, he's the main piece of this whole market. I think once he moves, you might almost see a trigger effect of suddenly everyone else is flying about the league.
It's going to be exciting next year to talk about who's the best off-season acquisition, because we could have 5 or 6 big trades to have to talk about.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, just on quarterbacks.
that award that we're going to get next season, that's also a spoiler for what's coming up very shortly.
Segue there, Sam.
Attempted segue and we just blocked it, but fair enough.
Intercepted.
But, right, boys, let's move on to the awards. And for those of you listening or watching at home, we have a lot of watchers on YouTube. And if you're not subscribed, go subscribe. Turn on the notification bell. Plugging it early this day.
Here we go.
We're here. We're moving. We're growing.
We really are.
Leave in the comments.
Yeah, let us know where we went wrong, because...
Took the words out my mouth there, Sam. Took the words out my mouth. Keep going, go on.
Well, I was just saying, let us know where we've gone wrong, and let us know who you think we should have nominated and maybe given the award to.
Yep.
Anyway.
Let's award the hosting back to James now to lead us in.
Let's go.
Cool. So, first award, MVP.
The big one.
The big one. And now, maybe we should have prefaced how we're going to do this before we jumped into the MVP award there. 3 nominations, 1 from each of us. Going to give a quick rundown on why we've nominated them. And then we've collectively decided who the winner should be. And then we'll announce that at the end of each award. So, boys, MVP, as I jumped into very early there.
Oh.
Sam, I'll go over you first.
Yeah.
Who's your nomination?
So my nomination is if you ever watched any of our earlier episodes this year, we had a bit of a running thing where we talked about low hanging fruit, and this guy's going to be low hanging fruit for probably the next 15 years for MVP. But I'm going to nominate Patrick Mahomes. He just gets better and better every single year. I mean, even from last year to this year, I mean, he's up in yards per game passing. He's up in touchdowns per game from last year. They were 14-1 and he sat out the last week of the season. He probably could have sat out the last 2 weeks of the season and it wouldn't have mattered. He's insane. He only threw 6 picks all year, and I think 2 of them came against Miami. So that's 4 picks across 14 other games.
Yeah.
This is a juggernaut offense, and the thing with Mahomes is he is the best in the game at the moment of you never think they're out. They can be down 21 points, and until that whistle blows, nobody is saying that Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a shot to bring them back. So just off of the fact that he's had another great year, even better than last year, 2nd consecutive Super Bowl appearance, he's great.
I like that.
He is great. He is
good. He is great. He's brilliant. But Matt, who have you got?
So I think this is going to be a guy that is up there with Mahomes, neck and neck for MVP across the next decade as well. I'm going to Sean Watson. I think this is a guy who's not got enough credit this year for what he's done. I'm just going to run through his stats, and considering 2 things to take into account here. He lost his number 1. He lost DeAndre Hopkins, who's already been shot in the foot by the front office. 49 sacks he's taken, 2nd most. Obviously, part of that is going to be on the quarterback sometimes, but I think watching the tape, this O-line is still not good. Even with that, 4,823 passing yards, led the league. 33 touchdowns, tied for 7th. Passer rating of 112, 2nd in the league. Only 7 picks, that's tied for 7th. 70.2% completion, 3rd place. And then he did it on the ground a bit as well. 444 rushing yards, 6th out of quarterbacks, and 3 touchdowns, was tied for 11th. So he's up there in pretty much all stats. Like, if you read that, he's in most of these, it's 2nd to Rodgers or Mahomes.
Yeah.
Like, he's had a great year, and I think taking into account what's gone on around him, I think Mahomes has kept, if not got more weapons that off-season. Watson lost them, had to refigure out what he's doing, who he's throwing the ball to, and still put up numbers.
Yeah. And that's with coaching changes in the middle of the season.
Exactly. Like, he had to deal with so much. And I mean, probably from about the middle of the season thinking, I don't want to play here anymore. Like, I think this has been going on for a while in the back of his head.
Yeah,
like,
definitely. Great nomination there. So I'll move on to my nomination, which is probably the more obvious one.
Yeah.
I think it's...
Can't not.
It can't not, yeah.
It's got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah, Nick Boyle.
Shut up!
Set us up for that.
Lloyd Cushenberry the third. Right, so my nomination is Aaron Rodgers. Goes without saying, I think this one is fairly straightforward. Watched him all year. He's been lights out, been the ticking guy on that team. Yeah. Kept it going. Would the Packers have done that well without him? Question marks.
No.
Yeah.
And he's not got many names around him either, has he?
Exactly. Devonta Adams.
Jordan Love.
Jordan Love.
Yeah, front office really helped him out this year.
High round pick.
But, statistically, one of the best years of his career. 70.7% pass completion, career best. 48 touchdowns, career best. 1% interception rate, career best. 9.2% touchdown rate, career best. And a 1.5% QB rating, career best. And also 4,299 yards. Not his career best, but it's close.
I mean, that touchdown rate's ridiculous.
That's mad.
That's
outrageous.
That's one of my favourite stats when you look at quarterbacks, and I often say anything above like 6.5% is ridiculous. Anything above 9% is you're not repeating that. And I think Lamar Jackson hit like 9 point something last year, and that's got to be the MVP, hasn't it?
Exactly. The scary thing though with Rodgers, I wouldn't see him not repeat. I could see him repeating that.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Like they actually use a first round pick properly this year.
Build a team around him, yeah.
Actually give him something.
This is when they draft another quarterback.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I mean, we had the Packers really low in our rankings as well. We'll come on to that in a later pod, but...
Yeah, we're going to be going through
hindsight is a beautiful
hot
thing.
takes.
Yeah, 100%. But he also led the QBs in many stats as well, pass completion, touchdowns, QB rating, to name a few. Yeah. So he's up there. And...
No shock.
If we're going to announce our winner...
Drum roll, please.
I don't have to do it on this but pretend drum roll. Yeah, we're going to give it to Aaron Rodgers, I think.
Yeah.
Very close between the three. We were talking about Deshaun Watson against Aaron Rodgers here. Deshaun Watson's put up some amazing numbers, especially in not a great team, to put it nicely.
Yeah.
Mahomes is Mahomes, right? He's brilliant. Very good.
Even on a slightly down year.
Yeah.
He's still incredible.
He's still incredible. But what Aaron Rodgers has done this year has been... exceptional, I think. So, happy to give it to Aaron Rodgers. Right, boys, before we move in to, one where we're all going to debate who's going to win it, we should probably give out the Comeback Player of the Year award. Now, this one I think is a given.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. It's hard to think of any other names. A few honourable mentions out there. But this guy, we've said about it all year. The things he's done after the injury he had, very impressive, and the mental game to come back from that as well is something that is not to be let down upon. Yeah,
I mean, there were times people were saying he might lose his leg.
Exactly.
And he might never walk again. And then a couple of years later, he's back on the field and taking a team to the playoffs. That might be the best comeback of all time.
Yeah, it's hard to...
And managed to carry Aaron Donald for a few steps on that newly repaired leg in his first game back.
It is amazing.
That alone, forget the playoffs.
So, Alex Smith, Comeback Player of the Year, without a doubt.
I think we were saying from early. I think basically the start of the season, we're like, if he comes in, wins a few games, he'll win it. And he did more than that. He went, 4-1? It was in the end, I think, roughly, and got him to the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
He managed to account for Dwayne Haskins. He managed to balance that out. Coming back from injury and get him to the playoffs.
Very true.
I'd love to see the NFL rename their actual award the Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year. I'd love to see that.
And if they won't, I think we will going forward.
Yeah,
next
I think we got to.
The Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year.
So, Alex, if you're listening, we've got a trophy here for you, mate. Please come collect it. Have a few beers.
Yeah.
Shut up. We have
everyone, all the
award winners.
All the award winners come round.
Be electric.
Next week, maybe for the Super Bowl, have a little party. Apart from a few, he might be busy on that day. Yeah. But next award is the Offensive Player of the Year. Now, Matt, who is your nomination for this award?
So this is a guy that's been... Him and his team have been hotly debated, mainly by me and Sam, since the team previews. And I think the main argument was, you can't be that one-dimensional. You're going to figure it out. Teams are going to stop it, but there is no stopping Derrick Henry. He is a monster. Going to run through these stats because it is outrageous. 2,027 yards. That is first by 470 yards to Dalvin Cook, who is then, I think, about a couple hundred ahead of the guy in third. So he's led it by a mile. 5.4 yards per carry on 378 attempts. So that ranks 6th in the league, but everyone else above him has about half his attempts. Some of them are quarterbacks, so he's dominated in that regard. Longest rush was 94, second longest of the year, so he can do it all. We know that about him. 16 rushes of 20 plus yards, led the league in that regard as well. 17 touchdowns, led the league in that regard. 126 yards per game, led the league in that as well. 98 first downs, led the league in that. So he did it all, even though you know it's coming and teams can scheme however much they like for it. You just can't stop it. He put it on his back at points when there was games where Tannehill was good. There was games where he really wasn't. And Derrick Henry stepped up.
Yeah, he is an animal.
Simple as that. Simple as that.
Absolute beast. But Sam, who is your nomination?
So I'm going to dip back into the well of Green Bay for my nomination, and I'm going with Devontae Adams.
Nice.
Now, Adams has had just an insane year. He's caught pretty much everything that's gone his way. I think he's got one drop on the season. He only played in 14 games and he still managed just under 1,400 receiving yards and 18 touchdowns. I mean, this guy is dominant.
Yeah.
And he's done that in a year where, coming into this year, all the talk was around DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Thomas, and he, for a while now, has kind of been under the radar, and he's quietly one of the best in the league. And this was the year that he came out and went, no, I'm not one of the best in the league. I am the best in the league. He was scoring touchdowns. He just wasn't dropping balls. And he did all of that in 14 games. Yeah. So for me, he was just out and out the best receiver in the game this year. So I think he has to get that nomination.
Yeah, it's hard to look past him. And the way he linking up Aaron Rodgers is sensational this year as well.
Same as Derrick Henry in a way. You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Teams knew they were going to be targeting him and just could not stop it.
Yeah.
For my nomination, Travis Kelce on this one. Now, you know I love tight ends. I think I've made
tight ends man, aren't you?
Very much a tight ends man. And I made it very clear this season, a few names I really enjoyed watching, but Travis Kelce is certainly up there.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, he's one of the best to do it of all time. I think.
Yeah,
this season he broke the record for receiving yards in a single season for a tight end with 1,416 yards, which is essentially wide receiver numbers. He's a dependable part of that offense, that Chiefs offense, which is already electric to watch and to go against as well. Is very difficult. So he's a key part of that success there, and I think it's pretty easy to say that Travis Kelce deserves a nomination for those reasons alone.
He's the number one target in that offense. When they need, on third down, when they need someone to come down with the ball,
always there.
A lot of the time it's Kelce getting that look.
Yeah, exactly. So Kelce, get nominated, mate. But the award winner...
Or was it not quite enough for Kelce?
It's not quite enough for Kelce. And unfortunately, it's not quite enough for Derrick Henry either.
Deserved.
Therefore, we are giving our Offensive Player of the Year award to one Devontae Adams. Brilliant season. Cracking job, yeah. Cracking job.
Go and have a beer with Aaron Rodgers and Bakhtiari.
Yeah.
And,
jump in the back of the pickup.
Yeah, you done your bit, yeah. And similar. There's a beer waiting for you as well, Devontae, and a trophy.
Post-COVID.
Post-COVID. Yeah, good point.
Oh, we'll do it social distance.
Yeah, we'll have all 13 award winners to sign the garden at
massive circle.
Big poker night will just scale buy-ins to earnings.
Yeah,
perfect.
That's a good idea. I like that. Very good. But yeah, Devontae Adams, I think a very, very fair winner for that award. And on the flip side, the next award is the Defensive Player of the Year. And I'm going to kick it off for this one.
Okay.
I'm going to go TJ Watt.
Yeah, I like that.
Big player for the Steelers this year. Voted the Steelers MVP for the second straight year. So, he's a key part of that team. And he's just got an incredible stat line from this season. Leading the league in sacks, quarterback hits, and tackles for loss. 15, 41, and 23 respectively. Whilst also adding 53 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. Done it all. That stat line alone means he's a very worthy nominee for this award.
He's really interesting player in the league because he's kind of the prototypical edge rusher linebacker combo nowadays. What teams are looking for is those guys who can rush the pass but also can drop back in coverage, and he has become the mould for what people want.
Exactly. It's brilliant to watch. It's really fun watching TJ Watt play.
I think that's a little bit what they've modelled Devin White on in the Bucks, and he's had a better year this year. Is the TJ Watt role. I think he's made a role within the defence in his 2 years in the league.
It's sensational stuff. Yeah. But Sam, who have you got to go up against him?
So I am going to go with another D lineman.
Okay.
And I'm going Aaron Donald of the Rams. Now, his stat line, maybe he wasn't quite as dominant this year as he has been, but he is still up there. He is an absolute monster. And he's the thing for Donald, which is why I think I have to nominate him, is he's done this consistently for 3 or 4 years now. He's one of the best linemen in the game, and he's doing it from the interior. It's the hardest place on the line to really make an impact, and he's consistently the best in the league at what he does, and he's an all-timer. You can pretty much put the gold jacket on him now. I'd say he's up there with that run that JJ Watt had back in the early 2000s. Aaron Donald is matching, if not surpassing that, and he just keeps doing it even on teams that aren't standout. And the Rams weren't standout this year. They were good, but they weren't great. But he is still just a shining piece from that defense, and I don't think he's going anywhere either.
Very good defense to that as well.
One of those that a good year for him is MVP.
Yeah.
A decent year is Defensive Player of the Year nominated.
Yeah.
Like, he's always going to be in that conversation.
Always is, yeah, definitely. But Matt, who's your nomination?
So maybe a little bit of a newcomer to this sort of list, and one that it's not really a position that gets a ton of love when it comes to awards. He's a cornerback. There's only been 2 in the last 25 years to win the official Defensive Player of the Year award. So it's like, you've got to do something good. I mean, like Gilmore did it a while back for the Patriots. He's the last to really have a lockdown year like this. And what I'm going for is Xavier Howard from the Dolphins.
Nice.
So he faced 90 targets on the year, which is tied for 11th in the league. From that, 10 picks, 20 passes deflected or defended. Led the league in both of those. So a third of the time you're throwing the ball at him, you're not getting anything out of it. QBs, when targeting him, had a 48% completion rate. So more than half the time he's getting it done. And at a 44.6 QB rating when thrown his way. And that's taking those off of, he's a top 5 cornerback, over 100 coverage snaps on that. So it's hard sometimes to quantify what players do on the defense in direct sort of comparison. But as a cornerback, he's led the league and been locked down. That tear he went on in the middle of the season when it was just pick after pick after pick in consecutive games. He set the tone on that defense. He was the heart of what was one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, they got turnovers on Mahomes, and that all came from, I think, the mood he got started in that defensive locker room of, right, we're going to go out there, we don't care who we're facing, we're going to make it tough for him. Yeah. And I think kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. I mean, he's always been decent, but this year was just career year. Can he keep it going? We'll see. But he came out there and became a stud in this defense. Very
worthy nomination, and we were saying this earlier as well about how cornerbacks sometimes, they're just not thrown to. It's hard to look at their stats and really justify why they're in nomination, because if they're good enough, they just won't get thrown against, right? Yep. So he's one of those guys, I think, in that same conversation. So a very brilliant nomination, all the same. But unfortunately, not the winner. And Aaron Donald as well. Just missed out to TJ Watt. It's the guy we all collectively agreed should be the winner of this award. So
hard to argue with those numbers.
Yes,
there's a stud in that defense, and it's generational defense when everything's healthy. So just stand out within that.
Yeah, exactly. You can't argue against it.
That's enough on its own.
Stats don't lie, and very worthy winner, TJ Watt.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say it again, but there's a beer for you. Right, okay. Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Ooh, fun one.
This is a really fun one, I think. Sam, why don't you kick us off for your nomination, mate?
So, my nomination is, you guys saying this is a fun one. My nomination is one that people will probably assume isn't so fun. It is a gritty position, and it's a position that doesn't really get a lot of love and doesn't get enough attention, but it's one of the most important positions in the league. And my nomination is actually Tristan Wirfs, O-lineman for the Buccaneers. Now, again, I think the reason I'm nominating him is because he's had such a good year, and it's a position that doesn't get a lot of love. And it was like a couple of years ago when what's his chops for the Colts came into the league. Names of
Nelson.
Quentin Nelson. When he comes into the league and he just has a lights out year, and everyone's like, yeah, he's great, he's an all pro, and he's going to put a gold jacket on him now, but he's still not getting the awards. And what Tristan Wirfs has done this year in terms of just how solid he's been and how consistent he's been is very unusual, especially at the O-line position. I mean, Tristan Wirfs has come in, he's not missed a snap. He's played every single snap of every single game this year. And for an O-lineman to come in and not miss snaps because there's a lot of adjustment a lot of the time, and it takes time to get your footwork down, stuff like that. He's come in, he's not giving up massive plays, he's not giving up massive sacks. He's been really solid, and on a team that has a quarterback who you can't roll him out of the pocket, you have to have a clean pocket. Your O-line is one of the key lifebloods of that team. Mm-hmm. And Tristan Wirfs is one of the anchors on it, and he's been brilliant.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And I know, Matt, you definitely would as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I could talk for that. I could go on and on about that one.
But the next nomination, and I'm going to jump in on this one, is Justin Jefferson.
Love
for
that.
me. I mean, he's not looked like a rookie this year. He's been absolutely brilliant. 1,400 receiving yards, which is the most as a rookie in the Super Bowl era.
Wow.
Which is a long time for someone to be able to do that. 88 catches, 7 touchdowns, 87.5 yards a game, 2 2-point conversions. He's just been brilliant this season, especially in that offense as well. With Adam Thielen and all those stars around him. He's been brilliant to watch. And he also finished the season second only to Devontae Adams in yards per route run. So, I mean, when you mentioned Devontae Adams, who we earlier have been really shouting here, Justin Jefferson's also in the conversation, but he's a rookie.
Yeah.
So
And normally it takes time for these rookie receivers to get into it. But he's just come straight and been like, let's go.
Straight in, lights out is brilliant
Diggs
to watch.
is gone. Don't worry about it. I'm in now.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact that people are talking about him maybe being the best kind of rookie receiver in Vikings history. For a lot of teams, that would be like, oh, great, you're the best rookie receiver in this team's history. When you look back, you think, you had Randy Moss come in, who is one of the greatest to ever do it, and you're already being put in those conversations. Justin Jefferson, if he can continue what he's doing, is going to be a force for the next decade.
Yeah, exactly. Absolute weapon in that Vikings offense. And
revitalised Kirk Cousins, I think, to an extent.
Yeah.
Like we saw a Kirk Cousins we haven't seen for a couple of years, and I think Jefferson is a large part.
Yeah, he's going to be a force going forward, like you say. But Matt, who is your nomination for Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Speaking of forces going forward, I think this could be a guy for the next decade or two. I mean, I've been high on him the entire season. I think from what we saw in the Senior Bowl, it was like, I think there's something with this kid. Not sure about the haircut we saw mid-season. I mean, that does detract a little bit from the value of this nomination. But Justin Herbert for the Chargers came out 4,336 passing yards, 6th in the league. It's a great start. 31 touchdowns, set the record. That was 10th on the league. I mean, set the record. What more can you say? 10 picks. I mean, it's a decent still 3-1 touchdown to pick ratio, which for your first year, can't really go wrong with that. Got it done a little bit on the ground as well. Not a ton of yards, but 5 rushing touchdowns, tied for 7th. I mean, showing he can get both done, especially when you get in the red zone. 66.5 completion rate. Pretty good. I mean, it's all done on 15 games as well, considering he was not meant to be the guy yet. Who knows, we might not see him to the end of the season, maybe not even until next season. He came in under weird circumstances against the Chiefs, went toe-to-toe with Mahomes, and that just set the tone for him. This is a Chargers team as well. They were in pretty much every game. Which, I mean, from a rookie quarterback, that's all you can ask for. A defense that had injuries, I mean, statistically was a lot worse than last year. He stepped up.
Yeah.
He came straight in, made this team his own, and I mean, played lights out.
Yeah, it's a great nomination. I think we said the other day as well, their record isn't just about how they played. A lot of one-score games in there, and I think he was a big part of that, big part of the offense. And
future's bright in California for the Chargers.
Lovely weather.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean football? Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
Cool, that's what I was saying.
Cool. Fair. Yeah. But yeah, I think Justin Herbert, brilliant nomination, and also a worthy winner.
Congratulations, Justin. There is a beer waiting for you, along with all of the other winners, apparently.
They're in the garden at the moment. We're not letting them out yet.
But we will be trolleyed by the end of this list.
So, like 14 beers we're going to be having. Oh, God. But yeah, Justin, come collect your award when you're ready, mate. On the flip side as well, we have the Defensive Rookie of the Year award. Matt, why don't you kick us off with your nomination?
So this was a tough one again. It's hard to quantify sometimes for these rookies and on defense.
Yeah.
Where is good? And I think when you look at this guy, statistically, we see where he ranks. You don't think, why is he being nominated?
Yeah.
But it's the context once again. So this is a guy that has transformed a defensive front. He has just taken it to the next level, taken it towards a playoff caliber front. And you have to scheme for him. He has been double, triple covered some of his bio lines and just absolutely blocked up. And that is Chase Young. I think he came in with so much expectation. On the year, 7.5 sacks, which is ranked 26th in the league. So you think, well, that great. 13 tackles for loss, again, 26th in the league. 4 forced fumbles, tied for third. So that one's a bit better. So statistically, it's not incredible, but it's the context of it.
Yeah.
There was so much expectation, and from day one, teams have said, we are not letting him play. But the attitude he's come at every game with is, that's fine. You can put as many guys on me. I'm going to enjoy just trying to get through him. And when I do, it's even more impressive. I mean, just that attitude towards the game with the Bucks, coming out like, I'm ready for you, Tom, bring it on. Yeah. He didn't have the best game there, we schemed well enough, but it's that attitude to be like, yeah, I'll take on one of the greatest of all time. I'm coming for you, I don't care. Like,
it's not easy. It's not easy to come into the league with a sight on your head, because he came into the league last year as the best player in the draft. He was the best football player in the draft. Everybody knew that. And coming into this season, every offensive coordinator before every single game, one of the things they will have said is, how do we deal with this guy here?
Yeah.
And that's as a rookie with still loads of things to learn, and he's still come out and put up decent numbers. This is a guy who is going to look great in year 2, 3, 4, 5.
And all the distractions as well. There's been a lot going on in Washington. We won't get into all the politics of it. But as well, just on the field, offense constantly changing, just throwing a ton of picks when it hasn't been Smith in there. So this defense had a lot of time out there.
Yeah.
And they've had to step up. I mean, they got into the playoffs, albeit it was from the NFC.
Yeah, dodgy division.
But still got them there.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Dominant all season, I think, definitely. But my nomination is maybe slightly biased, I guess you could say.
Oh, here we go.
I'm going for Patrick Queen, of course, of the Ravens.
Can't blame it.
Yeah, I mean, he came into the league and everyone's saying he's the next Ray Lewis, and there's rumours that he texted Ray Lewis on like draft day after he got drafted and stuff like this. Like,
love that.
Yeah, like just an incredible player. But statistically, incredible as well. Very good season. 106 tackles, 3 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, an interception, 2 forced fumbles with both of them recoveries, and also 1 touchdown as well. So statistically, a very, very good year. Yeah, a big part of that Ravens defense, which is
that front office. He's maybe the best at drafting defensive talent in the league. They've done it for 20 years. And can you imagine how happy they were when sat at 27 or something you were picking?
Yes.
And Patrick Queen falls to them. This is after the Packers have traded up and
they must have been convinced he was going to the Packers. Yeah. Like they needed a linebacker, and so they just sat like, all right, he'll fall in on that. That's perfect. We're good to go again.
Yeah. Incredible, and that's also with a GM change as well with the last couple of years, and they're still managing to get these drafts just spot on every time.
He was one of those guys who I watching Red Zone. It felt like whenever they cut the Ravens on defense, you're hearing Patrick Queen. Queen's head for a tackle, whatever reason, he was always about, which for a linebacker as well, that is the modern mould for a linebacker. Again, a bit of a Swiss Army knife, being all over the field, just getting it done.
Yeah, and just to further that point as well, he did lead the Ravens in tackles, sacks, interceptions, and fumble recoveries as well. So,
fair enough.
He's good. He is one of the few guys in the league at the moment, I think, is fitting that mould of can match up with those tight end nightmares. Where in the last 5 years since Gronk's been that match-up nightmare, you can't put a corner on him because the corners are too small. You can't put a linebacker who can keep up with him. You're seeing these kind of hybrid linebackers who can cover these guys.
Yeah.
Patrick Queen is one of them.
Yeah,
we're going to see some monster linebacker deals come up. I think TJ Watt, Devin White, Patrick Queen. If he builds on this season, these are going to be some big deals.
Yeah.
And I think they're both going to. The latter two are going to benefit of TJ Watt's going to get paid first. He's going to set them apart. I think these two are going to come along like, all right, cool. Yeah. Pay me. Big money. Yeah. Thank you.
Slight stat correction as well. He only led the Ravens in tackles. I got a bit carried away there.
I was going to say.
Yeah, a lot of stats, and I read it back and I was like, wait, I got that a bit wrong. But still led the Ravens in tackles, which we know the pieces around it is still an incredible job. But Sam, go on, hit us up with your nomination.
So, my nomination... It's a little bit of a victory lap on my account. I won't lie. This is a big
Here we go.
pat on the back.
Strap yourself in.
Do we need to set a clock for this one again?
This is a guy who I think was the steal of the draft last year. He was somehow a second round pick. I mean, I was saying this from last November before, like while he was still in college. This guy is a first round pick. He is a ball hawk. He is an angry player. He just deals out hits left, right, and centre. And yeah, he has some issues. He can be prone to giving up big plays because he does go in whacking hits out. But he is a great player, and to get him in the second round was just ridiculous. And that's Anton Winfield Jr. of the Bucks. He came in, and I'll be honest, I think there's an element of how he's played this year that is kind of just the perfect fit. This is the right defense for him to be in. It's a defense that they want to play aggressive to the ball and chase people down and dish out these massive hits. But the flip side of that, he has just had a great year himself. I mean, 64 solo tackles. You've got 94 tackles combined. You've got 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, an interception. I mean, you're talking about a safety who can do it everywhere. He can drop back in coverage, but he can rush the passer as well. I mean, he's got four quarterback hits on the year as well. So, and 3 sacks. He can do it all. And he's aggressive, he's to the ball, and he just fits that defence so well. And he's probably not like one of these guys that is a standout best player on the team. But you take him out of that defence and it's not quite the same, and it's not quite as mean in it as it has been all year. And I just love him going forward. I think he is the steal of last year's draft.
It's perfect storm in that defence. He suits Todd Bowles to a T. You've got him and Whitehead as the safeties over there that are just big hits. Like you saw Whitehead, 2 fumbles. Against the Packers, they both just come out and they will just lay a hit on people. Yeah. Just get in the mould of what this is. So
God, two Bucks nominations in a row, and from Sam and not Matt.
I know. I was trying to steer away from it a little bit. I didn't want to just sit here for a whole episode, be like Bucks.
Yeah,
someone be doing that all of next week.
Next episode.
God, it's going to be so annoying.
You can't tell all the jerseys. Matt decided this week.
I'm going to see my Ravens one just sat over there and just staring me down. Really disappointed to see that not on the wall, but
didn't quite make the cut. Didn't
quite make the cut, and there's talks of that's another episode. Yeah. But the winner for this award, the Defensive Rookie of the Year, Chase Young. I think we have to give it to him. Yeah. The electrical year and just a big time player this season. I think we're definitely excited to see where his career takes him.
Maybe not Sam as much having that in division.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. But
with a fumbling prone quarterback.
The Giants are a long way off anyway.
Yeah.
So Chase, if you're ever in the local area, if you're in the UK, around our little podcast studio, wherever that may be, come get your award because it's there sitting for you.
And a Guinness? Not a beer.
Do you reckon he's a Guinness man?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I reckon Chase Young's a Guinness man.
I thought we need to find out now.
We've got to know.
I reckon that body needs the iron in the Guinness. I reckon. Yeah.
Well, that's cider.
I'm sure that's what gets him.
Nah, cider's too sugary.
I'm sure that's what gets him jacked. It's just Guinness. What is your secret? Guinness.
Just Guinness, yeah.
I don't go gym. Nothing. Just Guinness.
It's like Jamie Vardy and his Red Bulls. Oh god, but yeah, brilliant award that one. But moving on to the next award, and possibly one of the most relevant to our podcast.
Close to home.
The British Player of the Year. Cool. Now, there's 2 names, I think, that we all sort of agreed on. We're not really doing nominations for this one.
Couldn't split between them.
Yeah, because we couldn't split between these 2 guys, like you say, Matt. So I'll just read off both the names. Jamie Gillan and Efe Obada. Efe Obada, brilliant player. A lot to deal with this season. Quite a bit of adversity, getting cut and then getting picked up again. But still an incredible year. I think we can all agree.
Started to step it up this year as well, putting up. It wasn't just he was part of that team, he was actually contributing. I think he's built a foundation that hopefully this off-season he doesn't have to deal with you cut your back, what are we doing? He can just have a good off-season, build on it next year and become a bit of a force, a bit of an actual part of this defence.
Yeah.
The thing that's really impressive, Efe Obada and Jamie Gillan, Jamie Gillan, I can see that becoming more of the mould for British players. I mean, let's face it, we all grew up we all love sport. We play a lot of different sports. But in the UK, chances are you grow up and you play football, right? Like our football, soccer. So, I mean, kicking and punting, we are more used to that kind of thing. So it's less surprising, I think, that you've got a guy like Jamie Gillan who makes it into the league. He's playing every game and he's contributing. He had a couple of really great punts. And I think he's got the chance, if he can hold on to that spot and just establish himself, he could hold on there and be there for a while. But I think Efe Obada, the one thing that has to be said is there's a lot of transferable skills between sports, but when you're getting into the NFL and you're a guy who's grown up in, I think he came across from like Nigeria or something when he was like 7 or 8, and he's grown up in London and he's like London born and bred, grew up playing sports in the UK, but I mean, to go over and be successful in the NFL when you didn't play high school ball and you didn't play college ball, and you're going up against guys that have been doing this since they were 7, and they have been doing only this since they were 7. To get over there and to not only make a practice squad or to get cut and then make it back on, but to get 5.5 sacks in a year.
To produce at the next level.
Even if he does get cut next year, what he has done is trailblazing for everyone in the UK, and it shows that if you really work hard and you want it enough and you've got the talent, it can be done.
Yeah.
And that, for both of these guys, that is massive. And if there are young guys out there at the moment, 16, 17, that you've got the physical tools to do it. If you want to do it, they're showing it can be done. And there are a couple of young guys coming up at the moment through the UK youth academies and stuff. I mean, there's one young quarterback, he's about 17, 18, and he's got multiple D1 offers.
That'd be good to
and
see
he
that.
is going to go D1. And it's a really exciting time to be over here, to think that maybe in 10 years there are going to be some guys that are going to be competing for starting spots at quarterback and skill positions, and Effie Abada is just the first of these guys.
I think he's crossed over from. I think there was an element at one point of getting these international talents in. It's a bit just a markability thing, gets you a bit of a fan base from that country. I think now this season he's crossed over, saying, I'm not just here to be someone you can tweet about every now and then, and if we play a game in London you can kind of roll out, I'm actually contributing.
Yeah.
I'm getting the job done. I mean, I think, even if, let's say, he gets cut again, I think he's now at a point where there's tape there that he's going to get picked up again.
Yeah.
I don't think he's at a spot where people just kind of move on and just be like, he was only around because he was British.
Yeah.
He can play.
And the work ethic these guys have to put in to get on there is second to none. I think it really, really...
Yeah.
Oh,
It's outrageous because they're starting 10 years behind everyone.
Yeah.
And the guys that get to most of these guys that make it to the NFL, they are the top 2% of the top 2% of everyone who ever plays, and they put everything into it for 10 years. So to get to where they have done in a third of the time is insane.
Yeah, it really is incredible. So 2 very worthy winners. 2 guys we're very proud of over here in the UK as well.
And these guys should definitely come for a beer next
Yeah,
time.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
you should be in the UK at some point soon.
Jamie Gillen especially, I reckon it'd be a good laugh. Good laugh
Scottish
to go
hammer.
for a beer with, exactly.
I also want to see Sam arm wrestle Abada. I don't know why, I just want to see it. I feel like it'd be hilarious.
We should make that happen.
Do Oklahoma drills with him. If you're out there,
are you calling out Effie Abada for
I
an Oklahoma
officially
drill?
challenge you to an Oklahoma drill.
That is getting clipped up. That is getting put on all socials, and
All
hopefully FA's going to see
5'7"
this.
of me challenges Effie Abada.
5'7", 50 pounds sopping wet.
I'm talking full pads. Let's go.
You're going to need it, mate. I'll tell you that much. Oh
This
god,
has to happen.
this has to happen now. We're
How
going to
many
talk this
beers
into
are you
existence.
going to need?
I got so... I think I would need all 14 of these beers before I was willing to do that, at which point I would then also need health insurance.
Seen all of Chase Young's Guinness just open his face up.
Sinking it. Right, let's move on to the next awards, the Coach of the Year.
Big one, this.
Very big one. A few names that are really worthy of a mention. I'm going to put my name in the hat first. Sean McDermott
Love it.
of the Bills. Pretty self-explanatory. The Bills were 10-6 last year, and now they're 13-3 this year. Took them to the championship game, where they missed out to the Chiefs of all teams. I mean, we had them tipped as to go into the Super Bowl this year. So, the thing Sean McDermott has done in Buffalo is incredible. He's revolutionised the way they've played, made Josh Allen play to his best, got the best out of a lot of other players as well whilst he's there. So I think he's a very safe candidate for this nominee.
He's built something here that's going to be around for a while, I think.
Yes.
What's really impressive, what I really like to see is that I remember when Josh Allen was drafted, a lot of people were iffy on him. It's, hang on, you're taking a guy out of a small school who doesn't have great numbers, who's not played at a very high college level. I think his completion percent was like 50%. Like, it was not great, but McDermott and that front office took a guy that they went, look, we like the tools he's got and we like what we see and we can work with him. And Allen's got better year on year, and that team has got better year on year. And a lot of that is down to McDermott and his coaching staff, and they deserve all the credit in the world for it.
100%. Very, very worthy guy to be named here for this award. But Matt, who is your nominee?
So, I'm going to the AFC East. This is a team and a coach that's got quite a bit of airtime throughout the year. And it's Adam Getino. Brian Flores for the Dolphins. Sam for a second was like, no.
I was
I'm quitting. I'm
going
quitting.
to leave if we give any award or positive award to Gase.
You were.
Brian Flores, he has come in and in 2 years turned this team around, but especially this year, he's had to make tough decisions. Obviously, bringing in Tua and then not being afraid to almost take a baseball approach to it, where I'll have like the two pitches. that's what he's done. He said, all right, I know the strengths of both my quarterbacks. I'm going to ignore the media, ignore everything, get them both bought into this system and just run them both when we need them.
Yeah.
And it's worked for him. I mean, he took them this year from 5-11 to 10-5. That does not happen without good coaching from the top. I mean, they made it to the playoffs early. We were saying in our previews maybe next year or the year after is when this team really hits their window. They've done it early. And on that, he's turned around this defence. This is a monster defence that looks like it could be here for a while. The off-season acquisitions they made across the board, none of them were massive sort of splash ones that you sort of really highlight. But they have all done a job. They've rebuilt the O-line. Like, he has transformed this team, taken them from what I think was 4th in the AFC to 2nd to the playoffs, and now they're there to compete. And I think the right additions, and they can compete with the Bills. If they can just get this offense firing and in a position where they could keep up in a potential shootout, the defense is already, I'd say, better than the Bills. They could put them in a spot to win this division, and that is all, I think, mainly on the back of Brian Flores, just bringing it all together.
Yeah. Very, very good nominee there as well.
I love that pick.
So, what's yours then?
Well, mine's a guy that I've gone on about quite a bit this year.
Yeah.
And I've been a big believer in the Browns this year, and mostly that is because of Kevin Stefanski. He has come in and he, to my view, has completely swapped around this team. This is a team that last year I think they went 7-9 in the end last year, and they basically got to 7-9 off of the fact that they had talented players. This was their GM had done a good job of putting the pieces there, but they'd made the wrong coaching decisions, and the coaching staff in Cleveland at the time couldn't put it together. They didn't know how to deal with Baker. They didn't know how to scheme the offense properly and play to their win conditions, and that showed on the field last year. Then Stefanski comes in. They don't make a lot of changes personnel-wise because, like I'd said, the GMs and the front office had already done a really good job of putting a talented team there. And Stefanski came in and he went, you know what, with a proper coach and just sticking to what we do well, we can take a team that was 7-9 and lucking to a lot of wins the year before to a team that's 11-5 in every game and can compete at the highest level in the NFL. And that's what they did. He managed to turn this team around. He recognised that they've got maybe the best running back room in the league, and he played to that. He recognised that Baker is good out of the play action and out of the RPO and just keep it simple and do what Baker does well and do that a lot. And don't ask him to do too much, and Baker can be good. And Baker had a much better year.
Especially second half this year.
Yeah, once OBJ went
without
out,
OBJ, weirdly enough.
Yeah, strange that.
Yeah, that's a separate question, and maybe next year if OBJ returns, they have to do a bit more kind of scheming around, making sure that Baker doesn't lock in on him. But the turnaround in terms of, okay, it was only a 4-win difference, but how those wins were coming about and how they looked on the field, this was just a massively improved team, and the fact that it wasn't largely down to personnel changes, it was almost completely how they approached the games and the coaching. For me, Kevin Stefanski is the out-and-out winner for Coach of the Year.
And there it is. He is our out-and-out winner for Coach of the Year. Like I say, the other two very good nominations, but I think everything you said there, Sam, just leads us to believe that Kevin Stefanski really should be the winner here. And as a Ravens fan, you hate to see it, but, you know, you've got to give credit where it's due, so certainly give it to Kevin Stefanski. Game of the Year is the next award.
Fun one.
A very, very fun one, Sam. Why don't you kick us off with your nomination?
So I am going to go, just give some, we actually had a bit of a debate about this as to whether we were going to include playoff games, stuff like that, and we decided we were going to include playoff games, but the big but here is we're not going to take into account the implication of the game. So I won't discuss kind of the implication of, obviously it's any playoff game, there's the argument to say it's going to be better than a regular season game because it's all on the line. Yeah. But I'm actually going to go back to the Browns, and I'm going to say the Browns-Chiefs game. This is probably one for the fans that we want to hear you guys listening at home what your favourite game was, because this is all subjective. But Browns-Chiefs, for me, was just a great game. It had everything. Even if you take out the divisional round aspect of things, I mean, you had the Chiefs came out and they were firing on all cylinders. First couple drives, the Browns could not do anything. I mean, every third down and long, the Chiefs were getting easy conversions. The Browns had a good first drive, settled for 3, and it looked like, right, if they can get this moving, get in the end zone, we could have a real game here. And then you had the helmet to helmet on the fumble into the end zone. I remember all halftime we were all sat debating, should they be able to call that back? Well, they probably should, but not on the fumble, because that's just the rules. You need to learn to do this. And you had all that debate, and then you come out and you've got the Browns come out and they get a touchdown. It's, the Browns could do this, and then Mahomes goes down, and then the stones on Andy Reid to call the fourth down towards the end of the game, when if they don't get that fourth down, the Browns could get the ball back and go and take the win. And with the backup coming in, it just had everything in terms of storyline and atmosphere. And no, it wasn't a shootout, but there were multiple times in that game where I went from going, Chiefs have got this locked up, to, the Browns could do this, to, oh my God, the Chiefs are in real trouble, to, the Browns could really do this, to, oh no, the Chiefs are still good without Mahomes. And it just had everything. Yeah,
it really, really did. It's a great game to watch. I remember just sat there being like, what is going on? This is incredible. Incredible football. But the game that I would like to nominate also includes the Chiefs. If you cast your mind back to week 5, when the Raiders went in to play the Chiefs. Yes. And this was the first real shock of the season that I can really remember. The Raiders won 40-32. And for them to go into Arrowhead and take it to the Chiefs as well is absolutely massive. I think no one really had that down as a win for the Raiders, not in that fashion as well.
To put up 40 away from home is great.
It's incredible.
To do it at Arrowhead is just
another level. And Derek Carr outplayed Mahomes as well, which is wild to think about. And that started my loving for Derek Carr from that game. I mean, I banged on about him all season until towards the end when he seems to dive a little bit. But and even until the fourth quarter, the game was neck and neck. It was 24-24. And then the fourth quarter just blew up with scores all over the place, touchdowns, field goals, whatever. It was just a brilliant, brilliant game to watch. And I think it's a very worthy nominee for this award. Matt?
Sure. So, I mean, I know we said obviously Sam went playoffs and didn't really build that kind of storyline into it. Mine has maybe just brought in a bit of the storyline within the show, within between, I would say, us three, but mainly me and Sam at this point. This was
definitely. I was neutral.
It was an early AFC playoff preview. It was a game we were just sat there, edge of our seats, like trash talk going back and forth. Neither of our actual teams, but just like a wild one, and that is Steelers against the Titans in week 7. Obviously, it came down to that last-second missed field goal for the Titans. But, I mean, it had everything. It had the Steelers up 27-4 at the half, blowing the game away at that point. Sam, unbearable to be sat next to after everything we'd put into this game. Come out in the second half. And I've been saying the Titans, that team that will get blown out and adjust. And they started doing it. And the score in the second half was obviously 3 for the Steelers to 17 for the Titans. They couldn't quite get it done. But that entire game, it was just like edge of the seat. It felt like it was like more than just a week 7 game.
Yeah.
That felt like a postseason game.
Yeah.
And for me, it was game of the year.
Yeah.
For me.
Brilliant game to watch.
It was a good game. I remember at the end, at halftime, being really smug. Obviously, me being really hard on Steelers this year, Matt being really hard on the Titans. Being sat there at halftime, like, I'm going to gloat so much. And then as it came out, I was like, okay, they scored the first touchdown. I was like, getting a bit uneasy in my seat. Then by the time they brought it back to within 3, I was like, oh God, this could be really embarrassing if I've spent all half-time gloating and then they lose.
I think that was a day on the golf course of Sam, like, Steelers will blow it out. I'm like, Titans, they can have a comeback. I'm like, they can't, not against that defence. And then when it started happening,
it was a good time to be a neutral in that argument as well. I was enjoying the football, enjoying the drama that was happening, just sort of watching everything burn around me. Just sat there like, all right, fair enough. But the winner for this award, and it's probably one of the closer awards I think of all of these, is the Raiders against the Chiefs, 40-32 week 5 matchup. First real wow moment of the season, one of the biggest wow moments of the season.
Everyone loves the underdog.
Everyone loves the underdog, and there it is. That's the game.
Chink in the chainmail of Mahomes shows that he can be beaten.
Yeah.
And okay, it doesn't happen very often, but it can be done. It can be done in spectacular fashion. And teams need to go back and figure out whatever the hell the Raiders did, because if they don't, then Mahomes is on the fast track to make even Brady look.
Even out Brady starts,
So when it comes to extending out an invite for beers and trophies, we'd like to extend the invite out to all members of the team.
Yeah, the entire
player,
Yeah.
all the
The
staff.
whole of both
Yeah.
organisations.
Bring your wives, bring your
Anyone on the
girlfriends,
practice
boyfriends,
squad.
everyone, bring them in.
All the fans.
All the
Yeah,
fans,
it's
big
family.
garden
here.
We have a beer each. A beer for every one of you, one for us as well. So
might be a bit of a squeeze in here, but
when they bring the NFL back to the UK, which can be just casually enjoying a beer at the bar, so it's like, you owe me a beer, I'm a Chiefs fan. People are like, oh no.
we really regret putting that online.
Yeah. But I mean, they're more than welcome, you know? They're more than welcome.
It's all falling apart.
Things are falling apart around us. The studio's
Oh god.
slowly breaking. But you're more than welcome to come round.
Yeah.
Arrowhead's big, but our house is bigger. So, right. Next award.
Ooh.
Most improved player. This is quite an interesting
Really
one
tough
because
one, this.
a lot of names we were throwing around and sort of thinking about nominations for this one. It's really hard to put your finger on the definition of most improved player because sometimes it seems a bit of a naff one. If you get most improved player, it means you're pretty bad the season before and you're a little bit better now.
Yeah.
But these guys, I don't think are fit in that category.
No.
They've been good, but this season they've come on leaps and bounds. So Matt, why don't you kick us off with your nomination?
Yes, it pains me a little bit, this one, and it was frustrating to watch throughout the year because I'm picking someone from that Saints defence. I mean, this is a guy that stood out in the Saints defence. It's a monster defence. There's big names there. This guy wasn't really one of them before, and that's Trey Hendrickson. So 2019, played 13 games, only started 3 of them, was just kind of on the fringe of this defence. 4.5 sacks, 19 total tackles, 1 forced fumble, 4 tackles for a loss. Got to the QB, got 9 hits on QB. So, for what he started, an alright season.
Yeah.
This year, though, he absolutely turned it on. 13.5 sacks. So he's right up there, nearing TJ Watt numbers on that front. 25 total tackles, 1 forced fumble, but then 12 tackles for a loss. So he just absolutely stuffed the run game as well. He was just a nightmare to deal with. 25 quarterback hits. He was always in opposing quarterbacks' faces and really turned it on. I mean, made himself a set starter in that. 15 games played, started all 15. And for me, beyond the stats, that is part of it and most improved. He is obviously improved enough that he is now a genuine starter in the league. He's taken that next step. So for me, it was a standout. I feel like he's one of those players, again, we said about Patrick Queen. We're always seeing him on Red Zone. He was that highlight play guy.
Yeah.
Just stood out.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely is. Great nomination there.
Yeah.
Sam, who have you got?
So my nomination is a guy that if I'd have said his name to you guys 17 weeks ago, 18 weeks ago, I can almost guarantee you'd never have heard of him. Because I'd never heard of him.
Wait, hold on.
Which means we won't hear him.
we can't have heard of him.
If Sam doesn't know him,
he's,
no one knows
it's
him.
only his 3rd year in the league, but his first 2 years in the league, he had a combined 14 touches. He didn't touch the ball, 177 yards on those 14 touches in 2 years. He was what you would have called a rotational guy. Just wasn't. He didn't get looks. He was the kind of guy who'd be right at the back end of the roster, and most years would just be fighting for a spot. And this year he's come out and he's gone, hello, look at me, I'm a proper player, and I'm not going to be in that conversation to get cut next year. And that's Robert Tonyan. He has come out of nowhere. I mean, combined 14 targets in his first 2 years. This year he had 52 targets. He had 11 touchdowns, and this is a guy that no one knew of. And he did it, and even as the year went on and people were starting to take note of him and he was getting covered more and people were thinking about him more, he was still putting up big numbers. So, I mean, just as a guy who, in my opinion, Robert Tonyan's the kind of guy who 99% of players in his position would come into the league, be in the league for a couple of years, make a few bob, be on and off of practice squads, and they'd fade away into obscurity and never have that year. He's had that year.
Yeah.
And he's come out, he's shown he can do it, so he's come on leaps and bounds. There's still a lot of questions, right? Is this a one and done kind of year? There are plenty of players that have done that, but I think just in terms of what he's done this year, it's outrageous.
I think the big thing for him keeping this going as well is he's filling almost that Jimmy Graham mould from when he was there for Rodgers, and I think that makes me think this is a guy who's going to be around to stay. And this isn't just sort of one of those out of nowhere career years. This is a guy who's going to get looks now. Obviously, Rodgers is going to trust him. I mean, was it 52 targets and he barely dropped any of them?
Yeah.
Like, it was a ridiculous season. So
Really
he also got 33 first downs over the year. So, like, I mean, when you've got guys that, especially at the tight end position, you don't necessarily always have to look into the stats in terms of yards. Like, he only had 586 receiving yards. It's not set the world on fire. But when you're producing in terms of touchdowns and first downs, that's what really counts. That a lot of the time, teams at tight end, they're not going to care. You can have 450 yards, but if all of those yards are meaningful yards, then you're really contributing. And Tonyan is just leaps and bounds.
Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly has gone leaps and bounds. But my nomination, I mean, we touched on it a few times and touched on this team a few times. Josh Allen. I think we can all agree. It's very similar points to McDermott, I think, as well. You know, they seem to have really worked well together and electric to watch all year. And statistically, he's, you know, been brilliant. He's set a few franchise records for completions, passing yards, passing touchdowns.
That's all the ones you want from your quarterback, really.
Yeah, literally, yeah. Maybe I'll just read through them. Completions, 396, passing yards, 4,544, and 37 passing touchdowns. So, I mean, those stats alone are brilliant. And he completed 56.3% of passes and 30 touchdowns to 21 interceptions in 2018, 2019. And then this year he completely changed that and he upped the game completely. He cut down his bad throw percentage from 20.3 to 16%. On target throw percentage improved from 73% to 79%. And it's just a brilliant year for him, I think, statistically, just leaps and bounds.
He also, in the space of a year, went from being on the deep ball. He went from being statistically the worst quarterback in the league on deep targets to being statistically the best quarterback in the league on deep targets, which is huge. And yes, some of that is down to the addition of Diggs, which I know we'll talk about in a bit, but that is also on Josh Allen. That to go from 32nd to first is a leap and a half.
Yeah, and just to touch on his completion from this year, 69.2%. And that's comparison to 56.3% from the previous two seasons, as just mentioned. So, yeah, I think very worthy nominee, but not the winner. The winner is going to Robert Tonyan.
Yeah.
And I think very fair winner. Other two brilliant seasons, brilliant improvements, but the way Robert Tonyan's gone from almost irrelevant to very much relevant, it's just an incredible transformation. So,
be interesting to see if he can do it again next year.
Yeah, and also intriguing to see what beer he drinks when he comes around for that trophy and beer.
Is he a Guinness man?
Is he on the Miller Lite with Rogers in back tire truck?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Is Rogers coming down as well? I think we gave award.
He got a big one.
So maybe they
Monte
can...
Adams, maybe they'll bring a crate between them.
I mean, Rogers had a crate to himself in the back of that pickup. So.
It's only light American beer. Do you reckon they'll be able to handle the hardcore stuff?
We've just annoyed a lot of people.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they'll be able to do it, mate. Let's give him credit.
We'll get them on the old Rosie, see how they handle
that. God, the old Rosie.
A dangerous game that'll be. But next award is following on a similar sort of theme. Not most improved player, but most improved team. Now I'm going to jump in here and take the first one just to take it off the board. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I think...
Agree.
This doesn't need much explanation.
Move on. Yep. Great award there, James.
Not much explanation needed. 7-9 last year, 11-5 this year, and the Super Bowl. Big off-season acquisitions in Brady and Gronk really helped. And also a big draft class. Tristan Wirfs and Winfield Jr., as mentioned, really transformed this team. And Matt, you said it a few times now as well, the culture has changed completely in Tampa. Yeah. And it's now a winning organisation with a positive mindset, which I think is... massive part of this, which you can't tell from the statistics, but it's a big part, and I mean going forward as well, it's going to be should be a lot of long term. I was going to say hopefully, but it's not the Ravens, so I don't really hope it. But a lot of long term success for Tampa. So I think a great nomination for your team there, Matt. But who are you going to go for? If you can't take the Buccaneers,
so I've touched on this a little bit already. A couple times I've gone to this team, keeping it within Florida. But over in the AFC this time, and that is the Miami Dolphins. I mean, I've covered a lot of the great points about this team when I talk about Flores and talk about Xavier Howard. But big thing for me is 2019, going to run through some stats here. 5-11, 4th in the AFC East, 306 points for, 494 against. So a points differential of minus 188. Just would not. Dreadful. That's one of the worst in the league. Offensive rank for points, 25th, yards, 27th. Defensively, 32nd for points, so just dead last, and then 30th for yards, so just nothing on either side of the ball. This year, 10-6, second in the AFC East, reached the playoffs. The big thing for me is the point differential. They had 404 points for, 338 against. So they went from minus 188 to plus 66.
Oh my God.
Like, if you talk about a team improving, that's flipped it entirely. And we know where that came as well. It was on the defense. Defense ranked 6th for points allowed, 20th for yards. The offense stepped up to 15th now for points, 22nd for yards. So this was just an efficient team. They weren't necessarily a big play team on offense. They were allowing some big plays on defense, but when it mattered and what it comes down to in the NFL is points. Forget yards, it's all about the points and winning games. That's where they improved and improved where it mattered, and it shows.
Yeah, really does. There's some
Simple as that.
really good stats there as well.
Yeah.
That is incredible transformation.
It is going to be hard to argue with those stats. But I'm
Try it.
going to try.
Try it. What's your
I'm going
nomination?
to try.
Follow that one.
I am going to dig deep back into the AFC North, and I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns.
Shock.
Yeah, I'm a big Browns guy, and the reason I'm going with this, I know that James, you mentioned kind of changing the culture in Tampa Bay, and I think it's a similar story in Cleveland this year. What Cleveland did in terms of improvement, less around their personnel and stuff like that, but they completely flipped the narrative. Then their personnel compared to 2019, don't think anyone expected them to, like, before going into 2019, everyone was like, wow, this super team, they've got loads of players, but no one actually really genuinely expected them to go and beat the best teams in the NFL. They thought this is a team that could make the playoffs and compete. Then this year they came out and they went out and beat some of the best teams in the NFL. Yeah. They went and played at a high level. They were right there with Kansas City in that game. And I still think there is a chance they could have taken that game if certain other things had gone. Yeah. And the thing is, now going into next year, there isn't going to be the narrative of, the Browns be the Browns. I mean, it's very memeable, but the Browns don't be the Browns anymore. They're not the same team they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago. This is a team that now goes into these games, and rather than going in thinking we're the Browns and we're going to get turned over by the top 10 teams in the league, they're going in going, no, we are one of the top 10 teams in the league, and we can compete with them. And that, I've heard interviews with players like Landry. They're bringing those guys into the locker room that have got this. No, we're going to go in and we're going to expect to win, not we're going to go in and try to win. And that, for me, has been the whole narrative change around the Browns. That's why I think they're up there with one of the best teams to have improved this year.
It's a great nomination, and you gave it a good attempt at beating Matt's.
I
felt comfortable with it.
However, we're going to give the award to the Miami Dolphins. I think those stats, the points you raised, just blow all of ours out of the water. Yeah. Buccaneers and Browns, very worthy nominees, but Dolphins, very worthy winners instead.
One of those, I feel like they've turned it around. When I looked up the stats, I was like, yep.
I think the big thing is when you go back, and again, we will have a separate episode on this, I would imagine, where we go back and look at our pre-season estimates.
Yes, that is an episode coming.
I mean,
can we skip the Eagles, please?
And if you go back and watch, it was one of our first episodes we ever released, and it was our pre-season kind of preview of the Dolphins. Everything we were saying is it's a really exciting time to be a Dolphins fan. This time in 2 years, you're going to be competing. No, this time now, they were competing, and they are competing, and they are really genuinely going to be going into next year as, with a couple of extra additions and good coaching, they could be in that conversation next year.
Quite easily, quite comfortably.
There is really a chance that AFC East becomes competitive. If the Jets do this right, if Bill Belichick does what we've seen him do before with all the defense back, the Dolphins build on it, the Bills stay where they are. Exciting division. Almost the opposite of the old NFC East.
Yeah, I was going to say, better than the NFC East.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation, I think, that one. Oh, Lord. But, right, next award is...
my favourite, this one.
Yeah, favourite award, favourite name. And that is the Adam Gase Worst Play Call of the Year Award. Of course, Adam Gase famous for being a brilliant head coach.
A real favourite here.
A real favourite on the Brian, yeah. Great way of putting it. And this award goes to just a moment that we all went, what on earth are you doing? What is that? Why have you done this? What is going on? What the hell? Bloody hell, Harry. You know what I mean? Those sort of things.
That pretty much covers.
Yeah.
Sam looks very disappointed right now. I think
because I know I'm going to have to talk about this play again.
Kick us off then. Go on. Kick us off.
And I'm going with, for the namesake of this award, I'm going with the Jets. Fourth and game against the Raiders. Why dial up the blitz? I mean, why? And the thing that annoys me about this is it's not even just on Gase. It's on Gase and Greg Williams. Mm-hmm. It's on Gase for basically stopping doing his job a minute early. He just went, oh, well, I can stop now. His headset was off. He wasn't paying attention to what his coaches were doing, and he just wasn't doing his job. And he let his notoriously aggressive coach dial up a play that made absolutely zero sense whatsoever. I mean, you had almost nothing to gain there other than say you get the sack and you still win the game and you do it in a great fashion. Oh, we did it with a sack. Why? What does that win you? You've still just won the game. Protect the sticks and don't give up the score. It made zero sense and it still makes me angry to this day. What are you doing, Gase? He should not be a coach in this league ever again.
I want him to get rehired.
Yeah, so bad.
It's a great poker face and that really hid your emotions about this.
Honestly.
Yeah, I feel like you should have looked down the camera and given that one just in case Adam Gase was watching.
Straight down the camera.
Adam Gase, if you are out there, please do not come for a beer.
No, Adam Gase, come for a beer.
Well, if you win
Oklahoma drill, Sam against Adam Gase.
Followed by a fair Bardo as well.
And then a fair
Bardo against Adam Gase. You'll love that one.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
But if Sam loses to Adam Gase, he has to turn around and admit that you are a good head coach and you deserved your opportunities in the league.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh, no.
Let's make this happen. But Matt, your nomination, please.
Yeah, so this is one that, Sam was really angry about his similar kind of play call. I really enjoyed it at the time. I guess I was on the right side of it. But this is the old Packers giving up the big play to Scotty Miller right at the end of that second half in the conference game. Imagine it. You're at Lambeau. You finally got the game there. You're on the back foot. Brady has come out and he's lighting it up. He looks like prime Brady. Poor number 20, Kevin King, has had a bad game. He's being burnt. Brady is just looking for him wherever he is on the field. And you've got Scotty Miller lined up there, his main thing is he is fast.
Yeah.
He is a very fast receiver. Yeah. So you go, yeah, right, pretty much last play of the half. They've messed about a bit. They were going to go for the field goal. We pulled the team off, brought them back on. It's like, we've obviously dialed up a big shot here. You don't do any other play here. Mm. So you go press coverage with your DBs having a bad game against Scotty Miller, against Brady, who's dialed in.
Yeah.
Done. Simple as that. We all know how it ended. Touchdown.
Yeah.
This was a terrible game for play calling on both sides. I think there were some very questionable decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Brady was shortly after that not dialed in for a little bit again. Yeah. But it's almost similar to Sam's, I think, as well, in terms of the play call, but it's just by what should be a much better, far better coached team, and in the moment as well. Like we said, we won't take playoff stuff into it, but for that one, that now looking at it, turn the game. Yeah. If you only give up a field goal there, different game.
And of course, defensive coordinator
now sacked.
Now sacked, no longer in a job. So
there's a theme to these awards.
Yeah,
there's certainly a theme. And I'm going to continue the theme of that game, perhaps not the sacking. That is the Packers' field goal in that championship game against the Bucks.
Yeah.
I think Sam at the start of yours, you said why, and literally my notes have just gone why, just why, why are you doing this? Why are you kicking a field goal? You're down 8 with 2 minutes to go, 2 minutes and 5 seconds, granted, to go. Surely you go for it on 4th and 8. Your QB is Aaron Rodgers.
Against Brady as well.
Brady
in the 2-minute drill.
Hall of Fame quarterbacks on either side. Your quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. You need to score 8 points to tie the game, and you decide to kick it for a field goal, which is going to be 2 minutes on the clock for them.
With
you
all
have to make
timeouts.
One stop. It just doesn't make any sense.
Especially in the context of the game. If this was the Steelers and you had your defence and you were confident that your defence could go out and get a stop, then I can understand it. Then I can understand it. But this is not a team that's built around its defence. It's not a team that had been stopping Brady all game. And it's a team that had actually got a little bit lucky up to that point that the Bucks had made a couple of really bad decisions to keep throwing the ball when they didn't need to. Yeah. They got the turnovers. You've got 4th and goal, and you're basically left with the decision, as you said, right, do we give our Hall of Fame quarterback a chance to send us to the Super Bowl, or do we give their Hall of Fame quarterback a chance to send them to the Super Bowl? And for whatever reason, they went, oh, let's give them the opportunity.
It makes no sense.
Have it on a plate.
You're assigning yourself to defeat at that point. You're going, all right, game's over. We're not going to try score a touchdown here. We're going to go for the field goal, take it to 5 points, and
crack Miller Lite, and we'll see you next September.
Yeah,
I think
so,
all they can be hoping
sense.
is because Brady at that point had thrown the 3 picks, looked a bit rattled. But I'm like, anyone like Brady, especially, if you give him a 2-minute drill with it on the line, he can get his head straight. Like, if that's a younger quarterback, maybe I like this call because he might do it again. But it's not. It's Tom Brady, and you have Aaron Rodgers.
It makes no
Especially
sense.
with
It's
an 8-point
ridiculous.
lead. You're not even going to need... Brady, at that point, did not need to throw the ball. You hand it off to your running backs, and even if they get the stop, you can punt back with maybe 30 seconds on the clock. And yes, Aaron Rodgers has done it in the past. I remember when he did it against the Cowboys in the divisional round a number of years ago and put the Cowboys out. But
That's what Rodgers does. In
Yeah,
that
that's
moment.
it's inexcusable.
It's
And
clutch.
even if you gave it to Rodgers and he didn't get the points, you're in the same spot. They get the ball back at their own 4-yard line, and your defense is back on the field doing exactly what it is, needing that score anyway.
Needing the touchdown.
So, yeah.
They almost didn't go with what Rodgers can do, which is clutch in his final moments, and if needed, throw the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
They said, let's give it to Brady doing what he does, which is manage the clock perfectly in a 2-minute drill.
Just made no sense. Just scratch your head.
You
pull
got
your
to feel
hair
for
out.
Rodgers in an MVP year,
right.
not getting given the opportunity to put the team on his back.
Undoubtedly.
I mentioned this earlier, but I'm hoping Brady, Super Bowl this year, Super Bowl next year, says that's enough. I'm going to ride off into the sunset. By then, Rodgers is tradable, and Arians goes, let's add him to the list. And the Packers are like, Jordan loves a guy.
Yeah.
And then we just keep it rolling.
And the trend continues.
We just
onwards
keep it
and onwards.
rolling.
Good Lord. But, I mean...
Come on, come win some Super Bowls, Darren. Come on. With the Bucks.
We're not
Weird
gonna make those
sentence. I would not thought I'd be saying that a few
would
years
be
ago.
a great acquisition, to be fair.
That would be. Not just yet, though, because we have to give a winner. The winner of this award, of course, I think you know by now probably, is the Packers
It's the
field goal.
Packers.
We've all been so angry and passionate about hating that play.
Quite happy
Happy
about
for
that one.
some, angry for others.
Yeah.
Just a terrible, terrible play call. So, there you go. Packers, I guess,
Congrats.
come for a beer.
Yeah.
Or maybe...
Yeah.
That's
I don't know.
that's more of a whiskey in a
You go
corner.
sit in the corner, yeah.
Whiskey and a cry. Standard Friday evening for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
We like it. Right, final award, and Sam, you've alluded to it a little bit there, trying to get the link.
Yeah, I was trying to be really smooth, set you up, and I failed.
It's almost like we have James hosting and linking things together.
Just trying to set you up for it.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. I do appreciate it. But best off-season acquisition is the next award. Now, this is one we sort of debated around the meaning, because it's an award that certain connotations, perhaps in different ways of what it could be. But off-season award is, players that were traded or people in free agency, not players in the draft. And we're also looking for the long-term value of these as well, so not just on their 2020 season. So I'll kick it off with Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
I mean, Diggs arriving in Buffalo allowed that receiver core to improve and B to exceed what they do best. It allowed Cole Beasley to be back in the position where he exceeds in the slot.
Very true.
I think I said a few times, Cole Beasley this season quietly had a very, very good year. And John Brown's done well as well. Diggs also got the best out of Allen. Josh Allen's improvement and Sean McDermott having getting the nomination for Coach of the Year. That's down to Diggs as well.
Yeah.
Really is down to Diggs, yeah. And that combo between Allen and Diggs, when we talk about years to come, that is one years to come. We're going to be talking about it for a long time.
Yeah.
And he also led the league in receptions and receiving yards, 127 receptions, 1,535 receiving yards, and it wasn't even close. He set it alight this year. And he's got some leadership qualities as well, which I don't think is spoken about enough.
Yeah,
there was some
under the
question
radar.
marks in Minnesota about certain things about him, but I think he's proved it all wrong.
Yeah.
And this has really, really improved things in Buffalo, and I think it's you love to see it for them, really.
Oh, yeah.
You really love to see it.
Yeah, and a good price.
Yeah.
Two
very
first
good.
rounders for a guy who you think is going to be a hit at the park, and he comes in and he is a home run. You're going to turn around and go, yeah, sure, I'll do that all day of the week. And for the next 5 to 6 years, he is going to open that offense up to be able to do everything they want to do.
Exactly.
He's a guy as well. He's an elite runner, like route runner. He's just dialed in. You look at what Fitz did, the way he changed from the outside, then coming inside to continue the career. That's another option that potentially they just get another burner as Diggs gets older. They can learn from Diggs, and in the meantime, Diggs becomes a great guy through the middle.
Yeah.
This could be even more. This could go beyond the 5-year mark, like potentially.
Yeah,
Great
100%.
pickup.
100%. But Matt, who is your nomination.
So I think this was the big. This is much more of a short-term one. I mean, we've covered this team quite a lot, and I tend to go on about them a bit for obvious reasons, but I've gone with Brady. I think there's a quick thing for any of these guys as well. This off-season, coming in and having an impact is even more than in past years because it wasn't a proper off-season. And I think that, for me, really does up what Brady has done here. I mean, took us from 7-9 to a Super Bowl. Third most points scored in the league. That's what you need to be doing to get to that point. And I think there's three main things that he changed in this Bucs team that I think he's the only quarterback in the league who could do this. First one is that ripple effect of who came with him. You got Gronk back, who's been maybe not flashy, but in the blocking game, like some of these playoff games, he has just been like, don't even throw it to me, I'll just block.
Yeah.
And he's happy doing it. Fournette, who again has stepped up now and it matters in the playoffs, but gave us a great change of pace with a great backfield with Rojo. McCoy came as well because of Brady, and although he hasn't been big on the field, you hear what Rojo's saying, you hear what Fournette's saying. He has been massive in that running back room. He's been a great mentor, which I think is something we said needs to be his role. He's not going to be what he was, and he stepped up and done that. And AB, when we've needed him, has come in as well. All four of those guys only there because of Brady. Secondly, you mentioned it, the culture shift. The second he comes in, I mean, you could have other guys. You could have Rodgers comes in or Russell Wilson comes in. I don't think that brings the same air when you see him in the corridor. You think, oh, we're to win. Like, that is what Brady has done. He might not have as better arm as those two, but he wins.
Yeah.
So it's instantly changed the culture. And it's changed the way we've played the game in terms of penalties. We went from having so many penalties last year. First sort of start of this season, we still had quite a few. From I think it was about week 9 onwards, that nightmare against the Saints, like him and Aaron dug in and were like, no.
Yeah.
And I think that is something, the respect that he's brought with him, that has just changed the way we play the game and allowed us to get to where we are, which I think, again, no one else could have done.
Yeah. Very, very worthy.
But a very short-term fix.
Short-term, yeah, but...
Well, who knows, actually?
Yeah, that's the thing with Brady. He's ageless, isn't he, at this point? And
could be 1 more year, could be 5 more. You never know with him.
No, he might outlast Diggs in Buffalo. Could you imagine?
He is immortal.
Yeah, literally. So I think a very worthy nomination, and that Super Bowl is pending for him this year, maybe. So
please,
we shall see.
Please.
Sam, the final nomination for the 2020 Brit Iron NFL Awards, please.
God, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on me to nail this one now.
Do not mess it up. Adam Gates to the Jets.
Oh my God. No, so I am taking who I believe to be the best value off-season acquisition of last season, and best value by a long way. This was a steal. They got his player for well under market rate. I mean, this is a guy who's worth easily as much as Stephon Diggs, if maybe not more. And that's DeAndre Hopkins. And to get him for a second round pick and let's face it, an average running back.
Yeah.
A second round pick is, second round pick, you're probably still just taking a bit of a swing in the second round. There are guys that, yes, there'll be guys that should be first round talents, but maybe have got character issues, stuff like that, but it's not a first round pick. And then a running back, and let's face it, the running back commodity in general, yes, they got a okay running back. I mean, Johnson came in and he had nearly 1,000 yards in Houston this year, but it's not hard to find a 1,000-yard rusher these days. I mean, Jacksonville showed with James Robinson, he was, a 6th-round pick, and he came in and had just shy of 1,000 yards.
Undrafted.
He was undrafted. Wasn't even a pick.
I mean, you can...
I can do it.
Running backs are not hard to come by. There are teams in the league that have got 2 or 3 guys. I mean, the Browns have got 2 guys. It's not hard to find someone like that. DeAndre Hopkins' level of player, generational. I mean... 3 or 4 people a decade will come into the league that are as good as DeAndre Hopkins and just as dominant as him. And there aren't getting hold of those guys once they've been drafted is not easy. And to be able to do that for a second round pick and an average running back seems like a steal. I mean, I still think Arizona probably could have asked for 2 or 3 first round picks and got that if they got the right team. DeAndre Hopkins is going to play at least another 4 or 5 years at that high level, I think. So, I mean, value-wise going forward, that's easily the best trade in my opinion.
I think this is one that in 4 or 5 years, all 3 of these would be so interesting to see. There's so much hindsight to it.
Yeah.
But, I agree. Just on the price for that was
sensational.
There's a reason the Texans, the guy who made that trade, and Bill O'Brien is not there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very true when you look at it like that.
Sure, imagine him handling Deshaun Watson's trade. Be like, give me a packet of crisps and a first rounder. You can have him.
Quite literally, yeah. But
It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on in Alabama now.
yes, yeah, I was going to say that as well.
Yeah.
I would find it very difficult coming in as an outsider, kind of having that guy in charge of me, knowing how much of a mess he made in his last job, and you're sat there trying to respect him. Like,
I mean, at least he's not really having to do any trades, bits like that this time. He's kind
No.
of, that's out the window. That was, I think, what he really made his name.
yeah.
Badly on.
That's ruined his reputation. Yeah. Interesting, very interesting picks there. But the winner that we've gone for the final award, the 2020 Brit Iron Awards ceremony, is Stephon Diggs.
Yep. Congratulations, Stephon.
Congratulations, Stephon.
Get yourself a beer.
Get yourself a beer and come on down, because we are waiting for you and the others actually as well. I think very worthy winner.
Oh, yeah.
In all this for all the previous points mentioned. Exactly. Yeah. Insane year. But boys, that is the final award that we're going to give out. I think we need to go buy some beers.
Yep.
A lot of beers. We've got a lot of people coming over. COVID rules.
Post-COVID.
Post-COVID, that's the one I'm looking for. Because we're safe here. But a lot of very worthy winners, I think, here. And it'd be interesting to look back on this next year as well and see if any of these names pop up once again.
I think post-draft, we're going to be doing a little early predictions of this for next year, so we can give ourselves some stuff to look back on at this point next year, which I'm sure will lead to a lot of bad takes knowing us.
Because if we try to do this for this year, a lot of these players, a lot of these two things wouldn't have come up. Robert Tonyan being one that would not have even been in that conversation.
I would not have spoken about the Dolphins at all.
Dolphins, a few other names in there as well, but we won't mention them all.
Game of the year might be a bit difficult thinking about.
Yeah, that's very true. Really stick to regular season. That one there is going to be good.
Then again, if one of us can pick out a playoff game to be game of the year before we even get into the season,
we could do that. Potential playoff game of the year. Yeah. Looking for that'd be quite cool. I think that'd be really good to try bet on and predict. But boys, all awards given out. That's all we got time for today. You know, a lot of content covered there. So
prep for the Super Bowl, mate. That's next week.
That episode is going to be so fun to record.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun.
And
I'm really
listening
excited.
to Matt will be less fun going on about the Bucks, but
he's deserved it. He's deserved it over the course of the season,
and the Bucks deserve it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
so. Yeah, we're going to be reeling in all week, I think. But
never gave up. Ready to be heartbroken at the final step.
Oh Lord! But for you listening at home and you watching as well, thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us throughout the entire season as well.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good year.
Good first year.
Still one more episode to go before the Super Bowl. So be sure to check that one out as well next weekend.
Then we're into draft season. It don't stop.
And it doesn't stop.
We're
saying thank you now. Yeah, we'll say thank you next week and then the week after as well. It doesn't stop on the Brit Iron. But, as ever, be sure to head over to YouTube. Go like, comment and subscribe. And we mentioned it a few times here. Make sure you comment your thoughts on our awards and maybe ones you would have given to different players or different teams or different coaches. Get involved with the conversation. We will start growing the community over here. So be sure to do that. Turn the notification bell on as well. Always forget to do this bit. So let you know when we've posted a video out and an episode out so you won't miss a single moment. Also on Twitter and Instagram, we're at the Brit Iron. So head over to those places and give us a subscribe and a follow and a like and all that good stuff there too. But for now, thank you for listening and we'll see you next time.
See ya.